And we are live. Patrick, thanks for joining us today for a very special Monday Tint Wisdom. So today we're here to talk about the window film consumer awareness program that is opening up in March, right?
That's correct. Well, it's actually opening up in February. You probably, everybody that's listening to this might actually be getting an email, and they'll see some posts going out about it. The program runs April 1st to May 31st every year, or March 31st every year. So the sign-up window is opening in the next handful of days, and it's actually open right now, but you'll be getting some more information. I know you're going to post a link to the registration page probably as well. Yep. So the window opens up between now and the end of March, and then we actually just have a single window each year to get signed up, and then the people that are signed up, that's who's listed for the following year. So it's times we've done mid-year signups and things like that, but the way we did it last year was just a one sign-up window, and then that was the way, because otherwise we have to try to figure out prorated amounts, and it just gets to be pretty crazy.
Cool. So for everybody just joining us, we're talking about the window film consumer awareness program, and this is a open registration that's going to go on for basically a month term. So it's something you want to hear about, because if you want to take advantage of it for this year, you need to get in within that time window. If not, you're waiting another year basically to jump in. So for everyone who has no idea what we're talking about, what is the awareness program? Tell us a little more about it.
Okay. Since I've basically been in the industry a little bit over 20 years, it's often been, if I had a dime for every conversation I had with people that said, if more people just knew about window film, it would help our entire industry. One of the most common complaints is that the average person walking down the street really doesn't know what window film is or what it can do. So, it's always been a challenge of mine to say, okay, what can we do? And we've always talked to manufacturers and things like that to say, can we do something akin to, it's often been said, like a Got Milk type campaign to just raise awareness for window film. But with traditional marketing years ago, when I first got in the industry, it would have been unfeasibly expensive to try to launch a campaign like that within our industry because traditional marketing was so expensive. But what started to happen with me launching window film with iMagnet, things like that, is I said, what if we utilize modern digital marketing to be able to take a much smaller amount of money but still have a pretty big impact? So about 4.5 years ago, I decided to launch the consumer awareness division, if you will, of Window Film Pros, which sole purpose is just to essentially create non-branded, non-salesy window film informational content, and then share that out to a targeted audience of homeowners, people that are buying cars, things like that, just to try to raise awareness for window film in general. And then if we can get some people if people that see that are interested in window film, create a locator where people could say, okay, I'm interested now. Who do I call for this? And connect them with a local window film pro. So the idea is if we generate the interest, but then they don't know where to go, it sort of falls on its face. So we wanted to just create, not only generate the interest, but then tell them, hey, here's a window film pro 20 minutes from you or whatever. So that's kind of the flyover. And what we've been doing is actually creating content. And we allow anybody, whether they're part of the group or not, to share that content to their page because it's non-branded. It's just good informational content. But the people that what we do is when we create the content, we actually do targeted marketing on social media. So the money that we bring in, the $79.95 annual fee, a portion of that money goes to pay Facebook, Google, other people like that, Instagram, to take that content that we've created and put it in front of more eyes. Not put it in front of eyes of people that are in the industry, but put it in front of homeowners that don't know that window film can help prevent fading of their hardwood floor, for example, or something like that. So the whole idea of creating the dealer locator was to create a way to where we could, for a small amount of money that just about anybody in the industry can afford, it's between $6 and $7 a month, support a program that is sole intent is to spread window film information, with the thought process is that if we could just figure out a way to increase, public awareness by a couple percentage points over what it is currently, everybody in the industry would benefit from that.
Sure. So a couple key takeaways here. It's under $7 a month. So you said it was $79 a year, right?
It's $79.95 a year, which I guess if you divide that by 12 is between $6 and $7 a month. So
first takeaway from me looking at it, I'd go $80 if I'm a tin company, because I want to talk about some of the reasons beyond everything you just mentioned. Like, a tin company should realize this is a good idea. And the first one that stands out to me is the link back to your website. So just being on the dealer locator, you're getting a link back to your website for $80. Let's just talk about one thing you're getting. For that $80, you're getting a link back to your website from a 4-year established and ongoing window film related website that has content going up on it, fresh content going up on it monthly. So that it's obviously known in the industry as a backlink. It's linked back to your website, and that alone, just that link back, has a value in how well your website will rank on Google.
Yeah, from an SEO standpoint, a lot of people, if they understand how that all works, that alone is worth the $6 to $7 a month. The backlink from an authoritative site. And, fortunately this year with the work we've been doing, actually on several searches, Google's actually using us as their featured snippet, which, if you're familiar, at the very top, when somebody searches for something like window film information, it'll give like a snippet from an actual website that actually is like Google selected, hey, this is the authoritative source on window film information. And actually, on some of the search terms like window film information, Google started to use Window Film Pro's website as their featured snippet. So you have a backlink coming back from a website that Google has identified as being an authoritative source in the industry.
So definitely 1,000%. If you're wondering if that's worth it or not, I can tell you confidently it's completely worth it. You want your website linked back, even if that was in your mind all you're paying for. But it's really not all you're paying for. So the next way I look at it is, I go, how much traffic do you get to that website a year? And really, even without letting you answer that, though I do want you to answer it, my next thought is, how many customers would it take me to make up my $80 a year? And really, that, if you're doing automotive, is one customer. So if you get one customer the entire year, you're at least a break even on the profit side. You broke even with your expenses, your material, even if they were a base level tin. Now on a flat glass, I would venture to say one customer, any flat glass job, one customer, you've actually made a profit. And $80 cost per job is actually a pretty decent, acquisition cost for flat glass.
Well, and just to give you an idea, because what I try to track on the website is just not core traffic. I try to track when somebody's made an intentional move to search, find a Window Film Pro in their area. Because then it's like, okay, we've hit them with information on social media. They've made the decision now to come back to our website, or they've found us in search results. They've read some information and they're interested enough to where they're going to click find a Window Film Pro. So I look at that as like, kind of, if you want to call it a conversion, I look at that as like beyond just raw traffic. And in the 4 years, we've had over 10,000 people actually choose to find a Window Film Pro in their area. Just to give you an example, we typically in the last couple of years have had 200 to 300 people that have been signed up. So if you break that out to say 2,500 a year, it's about 10. If you averaged it out across everybody, you could imagine maybe like 10 click-throughs to your actual information, each year. And I look at that as like, that's not a big number, but that's a highly intentional click. By the time they're there, so again, I sometimes hesitate to just say the raw numbers because some people might be like, well, 10 clicks for $80 doesn't seem like such a great deal. But those are clicks that have went through a variety of levels of interest to get to the point by the time that they've done that click, they're pretty interested in something. And I always try to tell people too, it's I don't want to oversell like, hey, I don't want somebody to sign up for Window Film Pros because they feel like, hey, a bunch of leads are going to come in. Because as you said, with the authoritative backlink and things, it's hard to even track what the overall benefit of being part of Window Film Pros is. I want people to look at it like, hey, for $6 to $7 a month, I can support a group that's primary purpose is to share positive window film related information, of which I can take and share on my own page and things like that, and look at it in a way that they're helping support something that's beneficial to the entire industry. If some jobs and leads come along with that, that's terrific. But I look, as somebody that does marketing for a lot of clients, I can tell you, I have a lot of clients that spend several $100s a day on Facebook. We're talking about $79 for the year. So I don't want to come on here. I don't want somebody to sign up with a thought that, hey, I'm going to spend $79. I'm going to get 10 jobs. If that happens, that's terrific. But I think the motivation behind signing up should be more, there's a lot of benefit in doing it. You're supporting the industry, and it's going to help your SEO because of the authoritative backlink and things like that. But so, I mean, I'm not trying to dodge the question at all. I just want to make sure that, I don't want somebody contacting me next year and say, hey, I didn't get a job because I was listed. Because I feel like there's a benefit to it, whether you can track it back to a particular job you got or not.
Well, it would be very difficult for somebody to conclusively say they did not get any jobs from that link, unless they were doing like 3 jobs a year. I'm just saying, if anybody thinks you have to think beyond, did the customer tell me that's like, so here's the deal. Like if you ask a customer and you go, hey, how did you find me? And they say Google. Well, that Google search could have been Google, landing on Window Film Pros, reading an article, clicking the dealer locator, clicking through to your website. And then you asked them, well, how did you find me? They said Google. Or, you know what I mean? Like they don't necessarily go, well, I found you on this website after I searched Google and I clicked through. The same can happen with Yelp even. Like people can search Google, Yelp is the first result. They click through the Yelp, they see your profile. You ask them, how did you find me? Google. So like, it's very difficult to conclusively decide where you did and didn't get your leads from. But beyond that, yeah, go ahead.
The other part too is that the content that we generate, again, I try to tell people, you can use this content to share on your social media and things like that to help drive people back. Right now, there's, I think there's like close to 50 to 60 articles on the website that are all everything from automotive to decorative to, residential and commercial articles about window film that somebody can use. And it's like, again, we're creating the content, putting it out there, but you also could utilize it for your page. So when you really break it down and say, hey, I mean, I know because I actually have copywriters on staff. I mean, how much it costs to generate a 500-word, 600-word article. It's like, I really view it like, I'm not saying $79. I don't want to minimize that, but realistically, if you look at everything you're getting as being part of the program, I feel like it's a pretty good value. And more than anything, you're supporting a program that's hopefully just trying to raise awareness for our industry in a positive light. That if that happens, again, if we just move our industry from a public awareness of being less than 5%, a couple percentage points up to where 6, 7, 8% of the people know what window film is and think about it as an option for when they're dealing with something, I mean, that would transform the entire industry. It doesn't have to go from 3 or 4% to 25%. If it went from 3 or 4% to 7%, we'd all have so much business we wouldn't know what to do with it all. So,
yep. And I really wanted to talk about this today with you because it's easy to look at something like that in text form and maybe be critical, like you said, and go, well, how many jobs am I going to get from this and so on? But like, I can assure you, the backlink alone is worth it. The traffic through your website, when you consider, okay, window tint websites are not typically shared. Not many customers are going to be like sharing your website. Maybe you'll end up on Reddit in a post if somebody has questions or, there are some sharing like aspects to it. But for the most part, people aren't sharing your site like Fox News or CN. I don't know what the other channels are. But anyway, point being, this is an opportunity to get your window tint website linked on a website that's actually related to window film. So when you're talking about you and your competition in a Google search result, and you're all sitting there with 0 link backs to your website, now you have one. And then as time passes, you have that one over a year, over 2 years, and so on. That can be the difference between you ranking number 1, 2, or 3, or you being on the second page. So I don't want to keep harping on the backlink, but like, it's super valuable.
Well, and again, I have mentioned that in years past, but now it even becomes more about the more Google places authoritative, says that a website is authoritative in a particular field, the more valuable the backlink becomes. So now that Window Film Pros is a couple, 4 to 5 years old, and Google is actually recognizing it and making it a featured snippet and things like that, the backlink just becomes more and more valuable. The more, the more credibility Google gives to that, the core source that your backlink is coming from. The other thing too is, and I want to thank you because I know you were one of the first people to support it. This last year, a change that happened is we started to allow manufacturers who'd been asking us for a couple of years to support the program. And TintWiz, I'm happy to say, was one of the first to say yes, and a variety of other manufacturers and people within the industry supported it. And what that allows us to do is take that money, in addition to the $79 fees, and again, buy more advertising and just get the ads out in front of more and more people. And some of these ads, I think if you look at them, you'll see, not only are they getting clicked on and people are consuming the material, there's a lot of shares going on and there's a lot of activity. The site that the registration page has just a couple examples of some of the posts and the activity they're getting. And again, our whole goal is just to try to, the only thing that existed out there was just, manufacturers did a good job of creating content that talked about their particular products and things like that. But if you didn't sell that particular product, that piece of content would be useless to you because you couldn't really use it. Excuse me. This is designed to be not completely non-branded. And the fact that the manufacturers have even started to come on board and support it, even though it's not mentioning their particular brand, I think is another thing we viewed as being really positive. And we just want to continue to try to grow it. I mean, the main reason we're involved in it is it's something I felt like I could do to give back to the industry because I have an agency and we know how to do this stuff and we do it for clients every day. I can utilize the infrastructure I have here to do these programs and to promote Window Film Pros. I'm having some people on my team work on the Window Film Pros, micro content and stuff like that, and SEO as we speak. And a lot of that is just we have the mechanism in place to do it. So rather than somebody going out and trying to, manage that, I just, I already have people on staff. So I utilize the mechanism I already have in place to allow iMagnet to basically support the program. So
curious, if a dealer wanted to, let's say I'm a dealer and I have myself on the dealer locator, I'm part of the program. If I wanted to guest write an article and I was to write like something consumer facing, non-brand specific and submit it to you, would that be potentially another opportunity to get a link back to your website?
Absolutely. In fact, I mean, creating the content, I've written a lot of the articles that are on the website. And unfortunately, a couple of people in the industry that do work at manufacturers have been willing to allow me to utilize some content from them and not utilize the brands. But we're always looking for content because, I mean, I can only write about, some things so many times before it starts to, it sounds a little bit the same because it's me writing about some. So I would welcome somebody, if they wrote an article that was consumer facing and giving them a shout out in the author thing and creating another backlink for them. The only thing I would say is that the article has to be, specifically, non-branded and it not done in such a way that's trying to steer somebody back to them or a particular brand or whatever. But if they want to write something, or a case study is another way, where I think if a dealer wanted to say, hey, we went into this beautiful home, they had a problem with heat and glare. We specified a dual reflective film to help reduce the heat and glare, and we could create a case study. I wouldn't want to mention the brand names of films, but what I'd like to see the website do this year is actually have, from specific dealers, if it's not an article, maybe a case study that we can share with consumers of, hey, here's an example of a home that had a heat and glare problem, and here's how they utilized window film to address that problem. I think that's an excellent place. And within that article, we wouldn't have any problem in saying, hey, XYZ window tinting in XYZ state, recently, did this job. So that would create the backlink, to your point.
So Spencer Dawkins said, is it possible that Google doesn't like us copying your articles? Would it raise a red flag, so to speak, by copying your articles and using them on social media?
Well, ideally, the way that it would work the best with the program, we always share the content out on social media through Window Film Pros. You can share the content from the website to your social media platform. I wouldn't recommend taking the article and copying and pasting it and putting it as a blog on your own post. But I think what you could do is you could take it from Window Film Pros, share it onto your page, just like you would an article from CNN or anywhere else, and utilize that article. And if you're listed as a Window Film Pro, then the idea is, if they're seeing it on your page, if you're sharing it out, that hopefully that's going to end up resulting in a lead coming back to you. But I would say, if the question, if I understood it correctly, is taking the article and just copying and pasting it and putting it on your website, it wouldn't necessarily, there's a confusion about duplicate content. It wouldn't necessarily hurt you, or it wouldn't necessarily hurt Window Film Pros. You just wouldn't necessarily get a whole lot of positive benefit from it either, because they would look at Window Film Pros as being the source of it. So you would just not get any SEO bump per se from having that on your website.
So, and I think the key is, if you do want to go ahead and post it on your website, even if you're just sharing it on social media, I think a good strategy is adding some of your own commentary to it. So like if I was going to take your article and put it on, let's say, TintWiz in the blog, you're right. Like I definitely don't want to copy and paste it. But if I was to, write about the article, add some commentary, include some snippets of your article and so on, link back to your article, I think that could be seen as original content. The same goes if you're sharing that article on your own social media. Grab the link, post it, but don't just submit it and post it. Try to add a couple lines of your own text to your post, so you're adding original commentary to the link. Then it starts to make more sense to Google. And you can find that even Facebook posts on your business page will get indexed in Google search now. So it's worth doing.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. If you take the article and you sort of use the sandwich method, you talk a little bit about what the article's about, maybe grab a snippet or two from the article, and then summarize some things at the bottom and create some of your own content. I think that's a great way to utilize it, and just link back to the article and things like that within your post. And you're actually creating, not only are you benefiting yourself, but you're actually helping the whole program get elevated, because Google's going to look at that link from your site to the article as another way to add some propellant to Window Film Pros. So I think that it's beneficial both ways.
The way I think about it typically is think about like a news site and how they handle scenarios like this. They might write about a Facebook post, write about another news site's article, or they might, cover something in their news site that was in TMZ. They're not just copy pasting, they're writing about it, talking about the source and so on. So when you do that, you're showing Google like, hey, this is original content, it's about this. And you're really establishing your website as, it's better than doing nothing, and it's definitely better than copy and pasting. So Rick Tallman mentioned 50-50 partnership. Rick, I don't know what you mean, but if you elaborate on that, I don't know if you mean the pros and the revolution, or what it has to do with. So we did drop a link in the comments to the registration. If you could remind everybody, just maybe who joined late, just what are the dates of when registration opens and when it closes?
Registration is basically open immediate. Like the link is live on the website. We're going to start really promoting it within the next couple days. The way we've historically done it, and the reason I say that is because we're not 100%, sold on how we may do it going forward. But the way we've historically done it is we've allowed the window to stay open until the end of March. And then whoever is signed up at that time is signed up for the entire next year until April 1st of the next year. And there really isn't a secondary window to sign up. Some people have asked us throughout the year. We get a lot of inquiries throughout the year about getting signed up in August and things like that. But then it always comes down to, well, we don't want to have to keep track of hundreds of people that all signed up at a different day and they all have a different anniversary of when their year's up. We like to have the year be April 1st through March 31st. So the way we could potentially do that is to have some sort of a prorated amount through the year. But historically, what we've done is had one sign-up window, and then there's no other opportunities until that window opens up again the following year. So that window is open now, and it's open through the end of March. The minute you sign up, though, within a week, your listing will go live on the website. So if you signed up now, you'd actually get the equivalent of almost 14 months because you'd be listed in February and you'd be listed all the way till the end of March next year. So if you sign up now, there's actually, you get extra benefit because we're going to get that listing live within 5 days per se.
Okay. And it's not something that you and I discussed, but I'm just throwing it out there. Since it is a consumer awareness website, you are generating content on a consistent basis. If I'm a window tint company and I find a question being asked to me by customers repetitively, whether it be one I have the answer for or maybe one I need more maybe documentation on being able to provide.
Yep.
I would imagine they could just message you or leave a comment or whatever it is, email you and, make that suggestion. And possibly that turns into content that you produce, then content that they can share with their customers. So to me, there's more ways to get value out of this as well by being a part of it than even just signing up and sitting back.
Absolutely. I mean, we have two different ways. If it's a meaty enough topic, it may warrant a complete blog article about that topic. If it's a smaller, regular question somebody gets, we have a frequently asked questions section on the website where we can include it in that as well. So it would just depend on whether the topic was meaty enough to where we could get 3 to 5, because Google doesn't want you to have what they call thin content on your website, which would be sub 300 words worth of text. So if we can't create an article that would be over 300 words of text, we typically are going to try to put it in something like a frequently asked question or something like that to avoid Google looking at it as thin content.
Got it. And Rick Tallman brought up, he was just clarifying, I was just saying we have very similar paths and we're trying to take. I think we both want to make a positive impact in the industry. I think together we could blow it up open wide or wide open. If not together, at least we'll be hitting multiple angles. So this is one of those things where he's 100% correct. Whether, people work together on projects like this or whether you work separately, there's so much value in just it being done. And that's just another level of why I feel yeah, you should support this. You should support the next one. If there's another one, you should support them all because, they all bring their value and they all move the wind in the right direction or move the tides in the right direction. It's everybody lifts together with this. There can't be enough of it.
Yeah, I think that, when we started this, I think, 4.5 years ago, I mean, I didn't start this as hey, this is the end all be all. Same thing when we started Window Film Pros, which looked the other day, I actually started the first Window Film Pros group over 10 years ago on LinkedIn now. Now LinkedIn has kind of come full circle and they're the hot platform again, but we actually started Window Film Pros on LinkedIn before we started it on Facebook. But I don't look at other groups in the industry as taking away from Window Film Pros. They all have their own voice. They all have their own, you know, what they're trying to accomplish or who they're speaking to or who that group resonates with. I view it as like, hey, we're a pretty small industry, and I think we would all agree that consumer awareness is an issue in our industry. I think if we randomly went out there and talked to 100 people, you'd be lucky if you found 5 that have any real awareness of the industry. So I far from think that, like, you know, what we're doing is like the sole solution. I look at, like, the more people that are talking about it, the more people that are engaged, the more people that are involved, the better it's going to be for everybody. So, I mean, I'm not sure what Rick is planning or whatever, but I look at it like this, you know, this program, we sort of started it. We have a, you know, solitary mission. It's just, we just want to basically group resources to take non-branded window film content and try to share it with as many people as we possibly can. I mean, it's really that simple.
Yeah. You know, the idea of, like, I said, there can never be too much. It kind of side idea came into my head of, you know, just as an analogy, if every window tint company out there, and there's probably what, 5,000 to 10,000 tint companies maybe in the United States, if every one of them was to post every week this year an article about why window tinting's better than blinds, why it's better than shades, before you get blinds, you need to read this article, and so on. You know, you'd be talking about 25,000 or so articles going up, or I mean, 250,000, I think, would be the math over the course of the year. And, like, that would be an extreme example, but there can never be too much content, because the internet would be flooded with information about window film, and that would move the needle enormously.
And that's one of the reasons when we really started, a core of what we're doing is generating the content, because most business owners in the industry that I talk to, they're so busy running their own businesses that they don't really have time to, in a lot of cases, sit down and write a 500-word, you know, article. I mean, they're just busy running their shops and things like that. So we want to make it, to your point, we want to make it easy for them to say, hey, here's a good piece of content about home window tinting that I can share, and it's not XYZ brand's content that's a different brand than what I carry or something like that. This is not trying to sell anybody anything. It's just basically, it's something that anybody in the industry, no matter what brand they use, can feel comfortable sharing, because it's not trying to steer anybody in any one direction or another. So, you know, to your point, rather than all those people trying to come up with their own blog, the idea is, hey, if we create a really good blog and we can get a lot of you to share it, we can accomplish that same thing by getting window film information just spread across the internet. And again, you know, the idea is every single one of those things, it's just any sales, if you will, or marketing is a numbers game. The more of it that's out there, the more eyeballs that it's in front of, the more people that are aware that, hey, window film could potentially help with fading of my hardwood floor. Hey, window film is potentially a good idea to put on my car because of the SPF and the UV protection. I never thought about that before, because I wasn't ever a customer for traditional tint, but I never thought about this skin protection angle. The more people we can get to be aware of that stuff, the better it's going to be for everybody. That doesn't mean that particular customer is going to end up in your shop or another person's shop. It just means that if 10 people know about it, that's better than one person knowing about it. And if 100 people know about it, that's better than 10 people knowing about it. And just, you know, one at a time, put it in front of as many eyeballs as we can.
Absolutely. You know, one last thing I wanted to point out as far as, like, value from this program. So whether you sign up for this program or not, there's another way you can get value from this, because I feel like, you know, you always have to look, what can I learn from a scenario? And if you're watching this video, if you know about the program, you know that, hey, this has been around for 4 years. Patrick's just explained to everybody how he gets traffic to that website. He's built a great website, and he consistently posts unique articles about window film on there, that then brings traffic in Google. So if you're going to make another takeaway, some way you can get value from this scenario, it is you can do as he is doing for your own website potentially and say, hey, that's a really good idea. That's a perfect example of how to market your website. So if you have the capabilities, or if you want to hire a marketing company, you just see very transparently here that this is why Patrick's doing the marketing that way by posting articles, because it works. So you could do the same for your website, or you could hire a company to do that for your website. So, whether you sign up or not, you have to see that that's value. And to me, even if you're going to do it on your own, it's worth paying to be part of the program. Number one, because of the backlink. But number two, when somebody provides me an example of a way to be successful, I think they deserve to be supported. Just in that. I mean, it's an $80 lesson for the year. Are you kidding?
No, I mean, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I do want people to feel, if I had to say what I'd love to see the main motivation of being part of the website is, I think the backlink, obviously, all those things we talked about are valuable, but the way that the got milk thing happened, to go back to what we talked about, is a bunch of dairy farmers across the United States realized, hey, we can accomplish more together than we can accomplish as individuals. And I think they said, hey, we're going to spend money to come in together and be able to do ad buys and things like that to raise the public awareness of milk. I would rather somebody's motivation not be the backlink. I think all those are true things, but I would rather somebody's motivation to be like, is it worth $6 to $7 a month to support the industry that actually we all make a living at? I mean, we're talking about, like, heck, anymore you could spend that at Starbucks in one visit. I mean, to me, it's kind of like, the idea is, if we can, and the way that we operate the business, the more people that are signed up, the more money we have to buy more advertising. So I would love to see more people get involved so that we can then in turn spend more money with Facebook and Instagram and these people and put the content in front of that many more eyeballs. One of the reasons we brought on the affiliate sponsors like Tint Wiz and the manufacturers last year is not because that they're getting any special treatment or anything like that. It's that, hey, if we have more dollars, we can just put this content in front of more eyeballs. It's literally, Facebook does, they charge me the same whether I'm, promoting a local business or promoting something like this. It's public awareness, and it costs money to put it in front of people. So we've welcomed in the manufacturers and the affiliate sponsors, as well as people getting a listing, because we just look at it like, the more the program grows, the more people we can reach. It's just that simple.
That's 100% accurate. It's why we joined. We joined that, where we sponsor 3 to 4 other Facebook groups. We're not in those Facebook groups promoting Tint Wiz. I wanted to sponsor them because the value that I've received out of them, and I know the value that, they provide to the industry. And I just feel like, why not? Like you said, the tides lifts all ships lift with the tides, or whatever it is. So that alone is a good reason. But, if that alone isn't a good enough reason for you, just trust me, it actually is a good reason, even just from a transactional point of view. So whatever your motivation, do it.
I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you having me on to explain it. And I'm happy to answer any questions anybody, if they comment on this video, I'd be happy to jump in and answer any questions. I know you're going to post the link. If somebody wants to reach out to me directly, again, our mission's pretty simple. The program is pretty simple. We try not to overcomplicate it, but I'd be happy if somebody's got any, specific things that they want to know. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We're not trying to do anything that's anybody's wondering what we're trying to do. I mean, I'm fortunate that our business, the marketing business that I run is, does really well both inside and outside the industry. And this is just in a lot of ways my way of giving back to the industry that's provided so well for my family and I. So, and by the way, before I let anybody go, I just want to give a shout out. If anybody didn't hear, one of the real pioneers of the industry passed yesterday, and I would be remiss if I didn't say George Lewis from Performance Films was a leader in the industry, and he's going to be missed. And this industry was built on people like that. And I don't think we can overlook the fact that, you know what, we all are benefiting from the generation that came before us. Guys like Bill Burke and George Lewis and people like that, we all owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to those guys. So sorry to hear about George passing.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's not someone I know, but like you said, it's somebody that, has such an effect in the industry that, like you said, we all feel it, whether we realize it or not. It's there, and it should be, I feel like, a good reminder to everybody. It is a community. It is a tight community. We're all benefiting from those who came before us, and we're all setting a path for those who will come, after us. So,
leave the industry better than you arrived. I mean, it's provided a great living for a lot of us in the industry. And, part of this group, part of Window Film Pros Consumer is just my small little effort to say, hey, I want to, when my time in the industry is done, I hope I have left it better than when I arrived.
Yeah. Yeah, so. Absolutely. And just on that topic, it's like, we all know how great the industry is because how many people are happy to be a tinter? It's everybody. Everybody's happy to be a tinter. Nobody's like, tinting sucks. I hate this business. Everybody in there is like, this is the best. Like, I love being a tinter. Like, and because it's an opportunity.
And I don't know of any other industry where I've met so many people that have made a good living and provided well for their families. And we're not talking about people that had to go get an expensive 4-year degree or anything. This industry is provided for a lot of people, and it's a great industry. And to me, it's the one thing that's always baffled me is that we don't have more people wanting to get into it, because you look at people that, like I said, if you just come in, you learn the industry, it's a great industry that I think if you even achieve a moderate level of success, you could have you could provide a nice standard of living for yourself and your family. And it's kind of like an industry, unlike electricians or plumbers or things like that. In a lot of ways, window tinters are doing better than those professions, and nobody knows about us.
Yep.
Nobody knows about the industry.
It's like a well-kept secret, which is why there's so much opportunity in this industry. And other than that, it's what kept it such a family of an industry like that.
Well, it's an industry where, you have to, it's a big industry in some ways, and it's a small industry in other ways. You've got to it's one of the reasons I would say to, newer people in the industry, you never want to, if you're with a certain brand or whatever, it's a small industry. And I started in the industry representing what was at the time CP Films. When George Lewis brought me in the industry, I spent time representing 3M products. And I'm proud of the fact that throughout all that, I was really good friends with the guys at Matico, the guys at Solar Guard, the guys at Expel. You know what? We're all in this together. It's an industry. We might compete against each other, but, you don't burn bridges, because, this industry is too small for that. And you just, like I said, I look at it each day like, hey, if there's anything that's said about me when my time in the industry is done, it's hopefully that just in a small, minute way that I left the industry better than when I found it. That I conducted myself in an appropriate way, and I tried to help people along the way, and I left it a little bit better, than I found it, because it's a great industry. And I think that, if you lean into the industry, I think, leans into all of us, and it's provided well for a lot of us. So anyway, but thank you for allowing me to explain the program. And again, it's a wide open book. If anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'd love to have. Last year, we had between 200 and 300 people registered, and I think we had about 14 or 15 affiliate sponsors. I'd love to see that number double this year, and just see how much more we can do with even, more support. So,
well, thank you for putting that together. I know it's not like you said, it's something you're doing to give back to the industry. I feel like it works, and it's something I believe in. It's something I'm grateful to be a part of, and just thank you for doing it, because you could do anything with your time, and it's nice that you've put something together that benefits the industry as a whole and gives so much opportunity to dealers and so on. So really, thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks, Eric. I'll talk to everybody soon.
Don't go anywhere yet before I let you go, because the screen will change. Before I let you go, for everybody watching, we did put a link in the comments a little earlier to the registration for the consumer awareness program we talked about today. So just scroll up in the comments. You can click the link there and sign up. And then we'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll also be back Wednesday and Thursday. And tomorrow's guest is actually my wife. And we're going to be talking about what it was like to work together, some of the challenges and successes that we overcame when we had a window film company and we worked together. So tomorrow, same time, same place. Patrick, thanks again.
Thank you. Take care.
Have a great evening.